Jai Hind everyone. In this lesson, we are going to do the poem A Tiger in the Zoo, written by the Welsh poet Leslie Norris. So, the poem A Tiger in the Zoo is for class 10, CBSE class 10, and the book that you'll find this poem is Your First Flight. Alright? I hope everyone has held the book in their hands. Now, before we jump straight into the poem, let us know a little about the poet. Leslie Norris is a Welsh poet. That means he hailed from Wales. Wales is a part of Great Britain, and he through his verse represented power of nature. So he was primarily, basically a poet of nature, and he represented the power that nature can show, or the power that nature has in it through his verse. Now, before we start with the explanation part, there are a few things that we need to think about, or brainstorm before we head straight. So, if I ask you a question, what are the words or what are the qualities that you will attribute to a tiger? If you think about a tiger, what are the words that will strike you? Well, let us see what we come up with. First of all, as you'll agree with me, a tiger is a savage creature. It's extremely wild in nature. Then it is ferocious. Of course, it is very fierce and ferocious. It is independent because it holds its independence and liberty and freedom very close to it. Then it is fearless. It does not fear anyone. In fact, it is known as the king of the jungle, and rightly so. Then it is magnificent because of its aura. You think of a tiger and you think of all the glory and aura that surrounds it. So it is, of course, very mighty and magnificent. Then it is stealthy. What is stealthy? Stealthy is, if someone does something without being noticed, then he or she does it in a stealthy way. Why stealthy? Because a tiger can't, just reach its prey or pounce on its prey or just get to its prey without getting noticed. So it does it absolutely surreptitiously, quietly, in a stealthy way. Then it is very powerful. Of course it is so. And the very important thing, in my opinion, the most important word that you need to remember over here is that a tiger is a free creature. It basically is extremely free and independent, and it loves its freedom, it loves its liberty, okay? And they hold their freedom very dear to themselves. And now let us get back to the title of the poem, A Tiger in the Zoo. So of course, it is very, very cruel to take their freedom away. If we keep a tiger in a cage of the zoo, of any zoo, then we take its freedom away, which is extremely cruel thing to do. Alright? Now, the setting of the poem. The poem sets a contrast between a tiger in the zoo and a tiger in the jungle. So the setting oscillates between or moves from one place to the other. That means the poem starts with the zoo, then it moves to the jungle, its natural surroundings, and then again we get back to the real setting, that is the zoo. Alright, so it oscillates between these two places. Alright, now of course the tiger feels angry and helpless and very, very unhappy when it is kept in a cage of a zoo, when it is encaged over there. I hope you understood till here the introductory part. Now we move on to the poem. But again, before that, let us read the poem once from the beginning till the end, so that you get the essence of it. And when I do so, I would request all my students to read along. He stalks in his vivid stripes the few steps of his cage. On pads of velvet quiet, in his quiet rage, he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, near the water hole where plump deer pass. He should be snarling around houses at the jungle's edge, baring his white fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. So he stalks in his vivid stripes. Now the word stalk would usually mean to follow someone, okay? But here it means he covers the distance, or he walks from one end of the cage to the other. He stalks in his vivid stripes. Vivid is lively, very colorful and bright. So he has those bright stripes, vivid stripes. The few steps of his cage. Why the word few? To emphasize on the point that the cage is not a very spacious one. It is a very limited, the tiger has a very limited space over there. So the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Now pads of velvet quiet, why this term pads? Why has this term been used? And also quiet? Because, and also velvet. Because as you all must be knowing that tigers have very soft cushiony paws. Again, why? So that it can stalk its prey without getting noticed. Alright, so on what does he stalk the length of the cage? On his velvety soft cushiony paws. Okay, and he does so absolutely quietly. On pads of velvet quiet in his quiet rage. Now, how can rage, which is anger, be quiet? So here it is oxymoron, and we go to the figures of speech in the next segment. Alright, so in his quiet rage, what goes on in his mind when he covers the distance of the cage? He has that quiet, that subdued anger or harrowing anxiety within his heart and his mind, because he has got no means and scope to express it. And that is why quiet rage. Rage is anger. But what should he be doing? He should be lurking in shadow. Now remember one thing. The first stanza talks about the tiger in a zoo. What he does in a zoo, in a cage of a zoo. So this is the real situation. This is what is happening in front of us right now. But what should actually be happening? What is the ideal situation? He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. So he should rather be lurking in shadow. Lurking means to remain hidden, to find its prey so that he can pounce on it and tear at its flesh. So he should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, moving smoothly, without any hesitation, or just smoothly, moving very smoothly. So sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. Now water hole, or the area in the jungle or in the wild where water would be found, is also the area where the tiger knows that he will find most of the animals that it can prey upon. Whether it's a plump deer or whether it's some other weaker animal, alright? And plump means fat or chubby. So he knows that is the area where I'll probably find my favorite meal. So let me go to that area absolutely quietly, stealthily. Now this image of the tiger following the plump deer in its quiet, surreptitious and stealthy manner, and then when it does find it out, the tiger tears at its flesh and eats it, devours it. This picture might sound a little gruesome and cruel to you, but remember, children, that it is this what the tigers are meant to do. For the tigers, it is their natural instinct. And since tigers and other such creatures do this, the ecological balance of the food chain is maintained. So this is how the healthy balance between the predators and prey is maintained in the ecosystem. Well, that is it for this lesson. That is it. This much is it for this lesson. From here on, we take up in our next class, and we also deal with the other elements of this poem like the figures of speech and the rhyme schema now, and also the themes. Alright, so looking forward to it. Thank you.